Hello, good afternoon. My name is Karen. I have chosen the poem Morning at the Window by Thomas Stearns Eliot. I will be reading it to you. There are rattling breakfast plates in basement kitchens, and along the trampled edges of the streets, I am aware of the damp souls of housemates, sprouting despondently at area gates. The brown waves of the fog toss up to me, twisted faces from the bottom of the street, and tear from a passer-by with muddied skirts, an aimless smile that hovers in the air and vanishes along the levels of the roofs. Now I'm going to be telling you some background about the author. Thomas Stearns Eliot. He was born in 1888. He died in 1965. He was a British poet, playwright, publisher, and literary critic. He was born in the United States and spent the first 18 years of his life in St. Louis. He attended Harvard University and earned both an undergraduate and a graduate degree before going to Sorbonne. In 1914, he moved and settled in England. A year later, he married Vivian Hyde Wood, but he divorced her after some years and remarried in 1956 to Valerie Fletcher. Eliot became a British citizen in 1927. When Eliot moved to London, he came under the influence of Ezra Pound, who convinced him of his literary talent and helped him publish several poems. His first poetry, Proof Walk and Other Observations, collection was published in 1970 and established him as the leading poem of the avant-garde literary movement of that time. In 1922, he published The Wasteland. The Wasteland is considered to be one of Eliot's masterpieces and one of the most influential works of the 20th century. Eliot's reputation grew to an immense proportion, and in the following years, he established himself as one of the dominant figures in English poetry and literary criticism. In 1948, he received the Order of Merit and the Nobel Prize in Literature. These are some facts about the poem. It was written during the World War I in 1914. It was published in 1917. It was part of Eliot's first poetry collection, and it was one of Eliot's most famous and recognized poems. This poem was inspired by the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Morning at the Window. The poem despises the impressions of the lyrical voice as he or she looks outside his or her window and observes the streets. The form of the poem, although unrhymed, follows the spinner's stanza. That means that the poem has 9 lines, ending with an Alexandrine. This type of form was used by Edmund Spenser to write The Faerie Queene. One of his most recognized works in his heroic deeds are narrated in the idyllic pastoral fairyland. Yet, Eliot uses this form to convey impressions of modern city, most probably London. The poem is set of striking images of poverty. The poet sounds nothing but shows them. The poor people are rattling, making a sound. Breakfast plates early in the morning. It is an obligation for poor people to go to work early and work till late. Sun or shower, frost or fog, they have to set out early. The image brings to mind similar images of poverty. The speaker says that he is aware of the condition of the household's mind and soul, or their psychology. He doesn't describe that. Such housemaids are appearing one after another at the city gate. Maybe they come from villages, they have no identity, dignity, meaningful life. They are despondent and extremely sad. The speaker seems to go along or else look farther away, waves of brown fog which come up to him. This is perhaps because the city air is so polluted. Twisted faces of depressed people pass by. A passerby has tears in the eyes. The speaker takes another glance and sees her dirty skirt. Another person comes up and tries to smile but fails. The smile vanishes among the city roofs. All these disjointed images can be put together to build up general pictures of the poor people's plight. The focus is on the poor servant girl whose soul themselves are damp and moist, which meaning they are dirty. The poet evokes our emotion without telling his emotion. He arouses without telling his pity for the people. The people rattling breakfast plates early in the morning suggested that the poverty of the people who have to go to work early, they are also living in the basement of the house for that they cannot afford to live in a better apartment. The very roads in those streets are trampled or torn. The speaker feels that the housemates are downhearted and miserable, but for the city dwellers, the poor girls sprout out of nowhere of the gates of the city. The speaker then notices a set of several other images of poverty and dejection. He sees twisted faces of people who certainly have pain and distress. He sees a girl with tears in her eyes and a muddy skirt on her. Then someone passes by with an aimless smile. All these images are objective correlatives of poverty, which is the main theme of the poem. This concludes my explanation for the poem Morning at the Window. Thank you for watching.